Fantasy.
I'm Rostock Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts, Jeff Maher, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. With me this week is my co-host, Jeff Maher. Jeff, how you doing?
I am doing great. You know, Doc, lately you've been talking about how we're moving up on our 100th episode and bringing up how many we've done. Well, we did 131 movies in our first year.
Wow.
And 75 so far this year. So for a total of 206 at this point, including tonight's films.
Including tonight's.
And that's not counting the interview we did with Daniel Ferrens.
Oh, yeah.
Or season 3 of Slasher. Or first half of season 2 of Castle Rock. So there's 3 more episodes in there.
That's hundreds of hours of horror.
It is.
We are insane. So we are. They've been all across the board, from rock bottom to
they have
pure joy. So. I felt like I almost went into SpongeBob there for a second, but we'll keep going. All right. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead girl. Crystal, are you excited about encroaching in on episode 100?
Of course. I think that's like it's a momentous occasion. And actually, are we going to do something special for the 100th episode?
We should, shouldn't we?
Yeah. I'm like,
Well,
I don't know. It just struck me. I'm like, oh, great.
Doc always sings.
Oh, you
I
sing.
do not.
Oh.
Never.
Oh, no. Now we're going to put, I'm like, well, I thought you sang. I thought this is what you were going to do.
We'll figure something out.
He could do a little burlesque act. It would be very cute.
That would be interesting. To nobody ever. All right. Well, we have a pair of movies to talk about tonight. Unfortunately, they're both kind of in Dave's wheelhouse, and Dave isn't here. Unfortunately, he had a very, very busy day at work, and in our real lives, we do that sort of thing. Yeah, so he's missing out on The Dwelling, which is about an evil bed, which, how do you get better than that? Well, you have Animal Among Us, which is a Bigfoot movie. And if you have been paying attention, Dave Dreher is a huge Bigfoot nerd. He loves his Bigfoot films. So we'll have to get his opinions next week when he returns. But we'll be talking about those tonight.
Yay!
Yay! Before we do, we should mention that Gruesome Magazine is brought to you by ExpressVPN. A VPN is a virtual private network, a secure tunnel between your device and the internet. VPNs are used to protect your online traffic from snooping, interference, and censorship, but not your spouse. Just saying. ExpressVPN offers rock-solid privacy at blazing speeds, no compromises. They accelerate your VPN. They have 160 locations across 94 countries. That's servers everywhere. They keep your real location hidden from prying eyes. That's why you want this. There's no restrictions. Watch what you want. Any content, no matter your location. Also, they keep you anonymous, which helps protect you. And for me, most importantly, they encrypt everything. They keep everything secure. And that's what you need. They also have 24/7 support. If you want to give this a shot, you can go to gruesomemagazine.com/try-expressvpn or click the link in the show notes. If you're doing things on the internet, and if you're listening to a podcast, likely you are, you might want to consider this, especially in this day and age when our privacy is undermined more and more often and we don't even know it. And I believe, Jeff, you added this and you've been seeing benefits already.
I have. I just added this a week, maybe 2 weeks, I don't know, a week ago, because I travel. We travel a lot. And, I want to protect that when I'm in a hotel. What I found out was I would start up my computer and I'd run a speed test on it. And then I would start up ExpressVPN. And when I did that, I ended up with a faster speed. Now, I don't think they actually say they're going to boost it, and I don't know how that happens, but it's happening.
That's interesting. Wow.
Bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Finding a better connection somehow.
That might be part of it. I really don't know, but it's really cool that you're seeing those kind of benefits. If you want to give this a shot, gruesomemagazine.com/try ExpressVPN. Check the link in the show notes. All right, let's dive into our first film, which is called The Dwelling. This is from director Jeff Maher. The cast includes Colin Price, Elisa King, Gwendolyn Kumlin. It is 4 20-somethings find themselves stuck on a haunted antique bed. Okay, let that sink in. A haunted antique bed where leaving means suffering a gruesome, I like that word, plagued with frightening hallucinations. They must figure out the bed's secrets before they are ultimately picked off one by one. Before we get started, I was excited to watch this. I like killer bed movies, and I said I hadn't seen The Dwelling and fired it up. And I did see this a couple years back when it was doing film festivals under the title Bed of the Dead. It was great to revisit it, though, so I'm grateful. But I was like, oh, they changed the title and they got me. I guess that happened.
They got me. I love that.
So let's find out what our first impressions of The Dwelling. Maybe, Crystal, you are up first.
Okay, so I didn't know anything about this movie going in other than it was a killer bed. So I went in blind, and the first part of the movie, the beginning part of the movie, I've got to say, I liked the concept and the way that they built it. I mean, because it's such a silly concept anyway. I guess I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to kind of explain that beginning scene, the opening scene. Is it? Okay. So basically what it is there is some, old priests who are using the tree as, a sacrificial tree. And apparently from what we've seen is that they sacrifice one person, let them rot a bit, and then cut them down and sacrifice another person in their place. So the tree is basically a sacrificial tree. And then some creepy carpenter comes along, cuts the tree down, and turns it into a bed. And what a bed it is. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Like I think the bed was stunning. Wasn't it? Like just stunning.
What is the size of a bed that's bigger than king size? Because this is bigger than king size, right?
Yeah, and the headboard's like 2 stories.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it has this ornate sculpture on it, this relief, if you will.
Yeah, like a tree of life kind of thing. So I like the backstory. I think that, that was done actually rather quickly with a musical monologue. And that was pretty successful. I think that the movie was shot well. It was told in an interesting manner. As you watch, you'll realize very quickly that it goes back and forth between current time and flashbacks. And then as you get further into the movie, you kind of realize there's a reason for that. It makes a little bit more sense. So the storytelling in the order that it's done makes sense as well. I think they made some smart choices actually going along with the characters. There's some reasons that all 4 of them were in the bed together. And there is some reasons that all 4 of them stayed on the bed and didn't, or actually maybe it's not 4 of them left then. There's reasons they didn't get off the bed. I think the personality typing of the characters is okay. I guess I would say there was some really weird musical moments at parts during the movie that I found distracting and confusing, and so some sound quality issues, but that could have just been a screener thing. And some of the acting at certain points from really only just like one of the characters, I was like, it's all right. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think it's a fun watch. I think people will overall enjoy it. I'm not. You'll have to see what my score is, but it was okay. maybe it's just because I had such low expectations going in. I'm like a killer bed. Oh, great. Here we go. It wasn't campy at all either. So that was pretty shocking to me.
They take it seriously.
Yeah.
There is a policeman involved there, that starts off with this police officer coming onto a crime scene where they discover 5 dead bodies. And so you're bouncing back and forth between him and the 4 characters that we are introduced to that get on the bed together, as you will. And there's a lot of I kind of like the dynamic between the 2 storylines. I thought they tied that well together.
And that's what I was saying. Like, once you even get into it further, like, it wasn't confusing. You knew immediately when you were back watching the people and watching. It was done well. Like, sometimes flashbacks can be very disorienting. Like, you're like, wait, where are you? What time are you? But it was obvious. So, and like I said, like, for reasons.
Well, it helped that, it was almost all in one location. So that helped it as well,
Definitely.
So, Jeff Maher, I'm curious, what was your first impression of The Dwelling?
Well, I'm with Crystal, I think, in about the same boat. I liked the concept. I thought it was kind of cool the way they set it up. I guess the setup itself, I felt like there was something missed there because I didn't get, how do I want to say this? The way they set it up, I thought could have been a lot creepier, a lot eerier, a lot, and it was sort of done in these kind of slow motion things with these loud crashing sounds that were a little distracting. Then we go to the carpenter who cuts a tree down and makes a bed. Then we get to what's going on. So I enjoyed the concept. I really liked the acting. I thought the acting for the most part was pretty good. There was one character that's a real jackass, and he's pretty good at it.
Yes.
I thought the policeman, Colin Price as Virgil, was kind of almost like a David Tennant clone.
See that?
I thought he did a good job. I don't know. Other than that, and the bed was cooler than crap. I wanted him to linger on the bed a little longer. I would just start to zero in on the woodwork, and they'd cut to another shot. So even though there was lots of shots of the bed, and they didn't linger. And there's some pretty nice special effects, I thought.
Oh yeah.
There was a couple of really creepy scenes.
There's some good gore in here. It's not. I don't know if it's extraordinary, but it's damn effective. It starts off, we find all the dead bodies, and then we go about finding out how they all died, and it's pretty gruesome how it all happens.
I think that's such a creative way to tell it, though, too. It's cool because as the you find out how one person died, and then you kind of see it, and I think that I really kind of liked it. I was like, that's interesting. It's kind of a fresh idea, I think,
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah,
yep.
and as the detectives are trying to find out who these people are, we're finding out about their backstories, and most of those stories end up kind of coloring in the exposition on why this is all happening, and at least to these characters, or how it's deciding, right? Mm-hmm. And I found that really interesting too. I thought that was pretty well conceived.
Agreed.
And when they die, there's a lot of crimson flying around. Sometimes obscured, sometimes just flowing free.
Sometimes bursting upward.
Sometimes bursting upward. I particularly like...
Or dripping down.
Yeah. When it drips down, that was a pretty gnarly scene. But there's one in particular that I think got me the most, was the one young lady.
Did we oh, you're not saying anymore. I was like, did we lose you?
No, I'm still here. You haven't lost me.
He just didn't want to tell. I'll never tell.
Might be saving it for later.
I wanted to mention too that the director, this was his first feature, but he has been cinematographer on quite a few movies, and 2 of them that we did, Dead Sight and The Heretics, which were both pretty good and pretty well shot. So it's interesting to see him move into the director's chair.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did y'all feel about the character arcs? Like, did you feel like it? Do you feel like the characters worked? Because I guess my biggest issue with this thing was the main police officer. He was the weakest link for me, personally. I thought the 4 were great, but
it relied a little too heavily on his drinking, having that vice, and it undermined what I think they were after, because it kind of became more of a gag than it did something useful.
It seemed a little cliche, right?
Yeah,
Instead of like, so are we going to, is this, I don't know if this is technically going to be a spoiler, but maybe a little spoiler, but the detective who's on the case, his daughter is murdered by a gang member, and he's having a difficult time getting over it. But, he became, apparently a drunkard and drinking on the job, as it were, which is like really,
Well, there is another element of his story that they kind of save, yeah.
I just didn't want to tell that. I feel like that kind of wraps up the whole story as far as why the other officer doesn't like him.
I mean, I was okay with him, except as far as the drinking, it seemed to me like he went too far over the edge. Like all he had was that little flask. Now, I don't know how much he drank before he got there, but he seems to be acting fairly normal. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everybody starts yelling at him about being drunk and going home.
Okay, yes. Thank you for bringing up that scene, because that scene was painful for me to watch, because this guy comes out of nowhere, by the way. Who was that guy? Who was that guy?
I don't know if that was his boss or the detective that was supposed to be on the case or what.
Yeah, he berates him, and I agree. It was harsh in an odd way. I was like, ooh, that's... Yeah, it was strange. It felt forced, I guess, is really kind of what I thought about that. But I mean, there's flaws to every movie, I mean,
it really does work better when they're in the building, and especially in the room. It's when it really, that the room is well constructed and well realized. And of course the bed is this big centerpiece of it.
I even liked, though, that there were rules, like the bed had some rules. I mean, like it was after a particular type of person, and if you weren't that, you got a choice.
Yeah. Yep.
I think this concept could be even. I think it could be even better. Go even further. I don't know. I just think there's some cool, fun stuff you could do with it.
Mm-hmm.
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 Once you're on, you never get off.
I don't know.
So
nobody wants to watch a movie. Never get off. Nobody wants that.
Well, wait a minute. What?
Wait, what? I really like these characters. I like their dynamics. They like, especially big. Well, they're all there. And this particular room's in a I guess sex house of some sort, where you kind of go for private
sex
time. Sex club, and they as a group they go and do it with the one guy that we've mentioned, the jerky guy. It's his birthday, so they've all agreed to have.
Is he a jerk? You think he's a jerk? I think he's just.
Well, he was a little bit, yeah, but not obnoxious,
really.
not obnoxiously.
Yeah,
so.
I
mean, we've certainly seen a lot worse in cinema, but it was more for comedic effect, right?
I think he was totally not a jerk at all. I think his girlfriend was going along with what he wanted, and if she didn't want it, she didn't have to go along. But it showed, obviously, she didn't want to do it, but she was like, well, whatever. And the reality was because she was still in love with her ex-fiance.
Yeah.
And he wasn't pushing her or forcing her. I don't know. He didn't come across as a jerk to me.
Oh, okay. He came across as really immature to me.
Immature? Oh, yes. I'll say immature.
Yeah, okay.
Because I mean, really, dude. But a jerk. But to me, a jerk would be trying to talk her into it or force her into it, or he did. He didn't push or, he was kind. And actually, I really like the actor. I think he did an excellent job. And I like how he defended his friend. He loved his friend. I mean, I think he had a good character. I think all four of them were interesting characters. I liked them all. I think.
Yeah, they did each have a thing. At first I couldn't figure out the way that the way Sandy acted towards Ren. I couldn't figure out why they were together. But then you find out something about her recent background that might explain her not making the most healthy choices at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the four of them together and their dynamic, and then once it all hits the fan, they're trying to figure things out, and I liked how they acted, especially when it gets down, from 3 to 2, and they're trying to keep each other safe and alive, and it's I liked the dynamics. I thought it worked out really well. And for me, I was surprised how much I was enjoying a killer bed movie.
Me too. That's why I think I'm trying to figure out if I really liked it as much as I did, or if I'm just like, well, this isn't bad. This isn't dead bed.
And there is a twist, dead bed. There is a twist, and I liked the twist.
Me too.
Uh-huh. I did too.
When you're watching this, you'll see it coming. Doesn't make it any less enjoyable. It's not hard to figure out how this movie's going to end up.
Well, that's a good point, though, because they tell the story in such a way that you get it about the time they get it,
mm-hmm.
in terms of the bed and the rules and the possibilities, I think.
But you as far as the conclusion, I saw that coming. Maybe not.
Well,
not the specific. Maybe not the specifics.
Yeah.
Not the specifics, but in general, the character swapping thing that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was appropriate. That's the way. I feel like that's the way it should have been. It makes more sense, Yep.
And I thought they handled it really well, because what I thought smart was, they establish, like we were talking about rules, right? So they established this communication rule, and then when we get a repeat of that, we know what's happening, right? In other words, though, we get the twist without groan-worthy exposition, which is welcome.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So that's the film. We did The Dwelling. So let's give our final thought, our score, favorite scene for the film. Crystal, you're up first.
Well, like I said, I liked it. I think if you go in with, expectations of, a dead bed movie, then you're going to be probably pretty satisfied with what you get. I'm going to give this a 3.25.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, oh God. There's quite a few scenes actually that I really liked, but I guess my favorite scene is going to be the vodka through the window.
Oh, yeah.
It shocked me, actually.
That was cool.
And I was like, whoa. I think that's really when the movie, I was like, I like the concept. It's just neato. So it's kind of the moment where you go, okay, I'm going with you on this dead bed sled. Oh God, I can't stop.
Dead bed sled. I loved her reaction, because did that just really happen?
Oh, and then he goes, what did he say? He's like, we're in so much trouble. It's obvious. He's like, no, not going to go well.
All right, Jeff, give us your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene.
This was an enjoyable watch. It didn't lag. It wasn't. It seemed like it was about the right length. I liked the way they told the story. I think the actors all did a good job. It looks good. So I'm giving this a 3. And favorite scene, I'm trying to decide between a scary thing or what I thought was kind of funny. I'm going to go, I'm going to go with the kind of funny one. When so this couple is there, it's Ren's birthday, and he has set up this night in he hasn't done a very good job setting it up, I guess, but anyway.
Yeah.
Where they've all four agreed to go and apparently have swing a little bit, if that word's not too old. Or as my wife would say, whoop-de-doo altogether.
I I like that.
But they get in. They finally get in that room, and the four of them on the bed, and they're like, "So what do we do?" And the two guys said, "Oh well, why don't you two kiss?" And then one of them has a hallucination, and then they back out of it right away. And the two guys, I was just laughing my ass off because they were just like, they had these silly grins on their face of anticipation. And then when it all broke down, they were just like, "Oh, come on, it's okay, everything's okay. It doesn't matter. We can start over." I was just cracking up at them being such guys.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good scene.
I like that it was followed up because, "Why don't you kiss?" And he goes, they looked at each other
Would it
like,
turn you
on? Would it turn you on? And it was like,
Yeah. Would it turn you on? That was a good line.
So it's smart. It's funny. Yeah, I like this film as well. I'm going to give it a 3, just like I did when I reviewed it way back when. It holds up, so that's a good thing too. And I really like the lead actress, Elisa King.
Agree.
Who looks surprisingly like, or resembles, I don't think she looks like, she resembles, right? Anna Kendrick?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I'll give you that.
Couple angles.
Definitely.
Now, she's been in a few other things as well. We talked about Slasher season 3, right? And she was in one of the seasons. I think she was in season 1. And another film that we did that she was called Berkshire County that we reviewed from Nevermore a few years back. So, yeah, she's really good. I hope she gets some more work.
Yeah, I agree.
Favorite scene. I hinted toward one that kind of made me go, ugh.
Yeah.
And it has to do with a lot of bone breaking.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's probably the most graphic, but not necessarily the most bloody, because I think our buddy that we talked about earlier gets the most bloody, which is also interesting. I don't want to say too much without giving it all away, but let's say when they find her dead, and earlier in the film, they described that every bone in her body was broken, and yes, that does happen.
That's awful. Like, that's awful.
Yeah.
She did. Although what she did was pretty bad too. But let's be real. Her mom wasn't going to get any better anyway. Like, there's just no way. There's no coming back from that, I don't think, Sorry. Yeah. Ooh.
Well, the thing that really creeped me out was the sheet thing.
Oh, that was creepy with the skull coming. Yeah, with like
that thing was when it ended up crawling on the ceiling. I was like, "Oh my!"
That was a good one. Yeah. We also get that, which a few years back wasn't as quite cliche as it is now, but the girl walking upside down and backwards.
Oh yeah.
All out of whack, which has kind of become
a thing.
Yeah. But so check it out, The Dwelling. It's from Uncorked Entertainment. It is out on digital and DVD November 26th. And, Uncorked, as much as we love them, it can be hit and miss. Awfully hit and miss. This is a hit. If you'd like to support Gruesome Magazine, the best way to do so is spread the word. Share the podcast. Tell your friends. Review on iTunes. Let's get some more listeners in here sharing the fun and all these films. How many films? 206 films. They've missed out on 206 films. They should be listening.
It always surprises me when something like from our episode 2 showed up on Amazon Prime finally.
Finally,
that's wild.
So please do so. Next film up is Animal Among Us. This is from director John Woodruff. Cast includes Larissa Oleynik, Aaron Daniels, and Heather Tom. Is it Oleynik? I don't know how else you would say that. Oleynik? Maybe no. Maybe the Y is silent. Why do I do this?
Oh my gosh! Stop! You're killing me.
Larissa
Oleynik. I love it.
Oleynik.
Oh, there we go. That's
Oleynik. All right, Jeff.
I don't know if it's right, but it sounds less goofy.
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Animal Among Us is 15 years ago. 2 teenage girls were murdered in Merrimaker campgrounds. A case was filed as an animal attack. The camp was condemned and the killer never found, but something horrific still waits in those woods. All right, Jeff, sir, you're up first. What is your first impression of Animal Among Us?
Well, should I spoil it? Or did we already say that? So this is, when I saw this, I was thinking sort of American Horror Story this season.
Nice. Yes.
They're reopening this camp called Merrymaker Campground, where there was some terrible deaths years ago, and the daughters try to fix it. So there's something going on right off the, fairly quickly once they get to the camp, and they do a good job, I think, of switching locations. There's this college professor played by Christian Oliver, who has written a horror novel apparently about Camp Merrymaker, and he lives in this giant kind of brick mansion, and then you have the Camp Merrymaker. So we kind of switch back and forth what's going on, and it's fairly straightforward on his end, but at Camp Merrymaker, we know there's something going on that we're not quite getting. You can tell right away that there's a subtext in their dialogues between the two sisters. And then there's their stepfather, I guess, who they call Burl, and then a couple of sort of interlopers, a Bigfoot nut who's there investigating. And I'm not sure who the woman, what was her name, Lupita?
They were also like Sasquatch hunters because her shirt never said Sasquatch. Yeah, I think the idea was that they also broke in. Yeah, that's what I was.
So, I don't know. I know I'm kind of wandering around in circles here, but in general, I liked this film. I liked the acting, especially Don Fry as Burl, and I liked Larissa Oleynik as Anita, the older sister, and I loved Erin Daniels as Christine, or the author's wife. I thought she was stellar. It seemed like it's another one of those kind of high quality, but it had kind of a polished feel to it, I guess. Like it was almost too smooth in some points. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
I had a problem with the sound, and again, we don't know if it's the screener or not, but there were several lines of dialogue that got buried. They were sort of spoken under their breath, or the music was too loud or something. And some I never got, some I had to go back and crank up the volume and try to focus on it. So that was a little bit irritating, but I'm not going to mention that again. I just kind of liked the story. It was kind of complex. I don't know. I'm just stumbling along. I think I'll just say I enjoyed watching this.
Enjoyed watching it.
I like the acting.
Yeah, I like Christine Donlon as Poppy Bishop, Anita's younger sister, Penelope, which has a nickname of Poppy, and I love that. That's great. I thought she was funny and flirty, and like when she's escorting, I think, the author to his thing, she's purposely standing up on the four wheelers,
oh, yeah.
So you can get a nice clear shot, right?
Yep. That was all part of their plan.
It was part of their plan, but yeah, spoilers, but yes. Crystal, what is your first impression of Animal Among Us?
So, I think I'm pretty much with Jeff. It was mapped out well. It, like he said, it was a very complex story. It all weaved together well and kind of wrapped up. I didn't mind a lot of the movie. Like, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go along with this ride, and oh yeah, I can't wait to see Bigfoot. Woo woo, woo woo. So, it took me on this ride, and I was okay with it. I think the acting was good as well. I think that some of the plot points were very smart and very well played, and I think that conceptually it was nice. Honestly, my biggest problem with the movie was the end, the very, very end. I feel like
the coda, if you will.
No, like the very, very end, like who really calling him a monster. He's not a monster. Because of what happened. I mean, really, I feel like that was extreme as far as making someone out to be the most horrible, awful person in the world for doing what was done. You know what I mean? But It was fun. I mean, there wasn't a heck of a lot of gore, but there was some. And like I said, they weaved everything together. I think the flashback of the mother was very interesting too. And I really liked
Yes.
her. She was super creepy. She had a very mommy dearest sort of like feel to her. So I kind of enjoyed that. I mean, it was okay. I didn't love it, but it was okay. I was disappointed a little bit, I guess, but that's all. And but that's not taking anything away from the movie. It just is what it is. That's all. You know.
Yeah, it's a little uneven, and it's a lot of it's a little talky.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of action, especially when you're thinking it's going to be a Bigfoot movie. There's no, for better or worse, what you expect with having a Bigfoot stomping around and banging on things. You don't get that, and they don't call him Bigfoot here, although they do mention Bigfoot from time to time. But they mostly say Sasquatch, and they call him this creature, which is a little bit more dready, like dreadlocks, furry
Oh
kind
my
of thing going on.
gosh. Yeah, I love that though. That was awesome.
Yeah, but which is fine because hey, the original look, right? But they called him Sir Squatch. Is that right? Or
that's what I thought they were saying. I don't know. Maybe Crystal. That
sounds like it to me. Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah. So the reporter kept calling him a weird name, and I was like, is that like a skunk ape? What are we talking about here, right? So it's a little confusing, and I feel like there's something that I don't know why that name was there, but at the same time, I was enjoying that. There's one particular scene where Elise is looking at the camera, right? The film that they shot, Lapita and her friend, and in the shot, which is kind of given to us like found footage, you get the glimpse of the creature, and I thought that was really well done. It was really well done, and it was very creepy and spooky. But other than that, I don't think I was creepy or spooky ever again.
Yeah.
I already said I really liked Poppy. I liked her as Poppy, but I also liked Burl Wolf.
Oh yeah,
played by Don Fry. Now Don Fry is an interesting actor because he was originally a mixed martial artist for 6 straight years, and you can see because he has cauliflower ear, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that always makes me. But he was in Godzilla Final Wars of all things, which I remember him from.
Oh, that's awesome. Like never seen it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he was great. He was nice. Yeah. Okay. One of the things I have to give the movie credit for is it does build anticipation for the creature too. Mm-hmm. As much as you don't know what's going on, a lot of the other characters don't know what's going on either. So,
that's true.
Mean, that's kind of a nice play, it's like, because I mean, really, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, because it's always a pain in the ass when we know and we're waiting for the characters to find out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what kind of threw the movie for me and made it on, didn't make it a home run was what I would call the final scenes, and not the coda, is inside the cabin when it gets down to negotiations and conversations and some reveals. And for me, that took the win out of the sails.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't really care for that.
What the whole thing ended up being.
Yeah. Spoilers. But the whole negotiation, because 2 characters are basically negotiating with a captured character in exchange for freedom, how they would do it. I'm trying not to spoil it, but I'm having a hard time.
Right.
And I didn't buy into that. I thought that I was starting to get a little annoyed. But that's probably just me. You guys could probably say that you speak up and say you agree with me or you liked it a lot better.
It had a twinge of unrealness. Like all this carefully plotted out, sort of carefully plotted out plan made an assumption 7 years after the fact that was kind of a long shot. Although maybe, I don't know, looking at the house, I don't know. But it did hit me that it was kind of stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be bluntly putting what I was trying to get after. Yeah.
I guess for me, I'm like, okay, they just don't seem smart enough to enact such a plan. That's all. I had a difficult time with their intelligence. Yes, they're not completely dumb, as it were, but the fact that they're like, oh, we're this is going to be spoiler right now. Oh, we're just going to go ahead and release you, and you're going to write another book, and you're totally going to pay us. What?
Oh, I didn't think they were going to release him. I thought they were going to hold him captive for for 3 months.
See, well, yeah, no, I think they knew that wasn't going to. Well, she did mention the misery thing, but eventually they wound up releasing him. You know.
Yeah.
So that's why I liked this Larisa Oleynik. I hope we're getting her name right. That played the older sister, because I just thought she played that sort of I'm in command, you're an idiot, but also being like, I don't know that she wasn't all that smart either. I just liked the way she played that.
Yeah,
she'd look around and go, wait, it's okay, this is gonna work. This is going to work. You know?
No. What's better? She's like, oh my God, sister, this is working out so much better than we planned.
Yes. Oh, really?
Yeah.
We didn't like her.
Well,
no, I did like her. The whole plan thing.
The plan, yeah.
I mean, no, I was really enjoying it. I liked how they were kind of manipulating, him along, and hey, one thing about us, we have a lot of cousins.
That was actually, I loved that part because I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense as to why she was really interested in him. I guess I'm like,
and I did like when his wife Christine, right? That's his wife Christine, was at home, and the computer was open, and you get this ba-ding, and it's all, the cousin, air quotes,
yes,
was thinking he was talking to.
But she knew, she had to know.
Right.
That's what the craziest part is, because you think.
Oh yeah, right. She had to be in on it,
right. You think that she's like, oh, this is a no, because then you find out. So what was the plan with that? Because they were going to try to hold that is a fail on their part, honestly, because weren't they trying to hold over his head that they were,
Well, I don't think they knew that he had left yet.
You don't think she did?
I don't think he wasn't there yet, and so I don't think that the cousin, they'd sent this invitation, but nobody knew if he did anything with it yet or not. They said it was like a 10-hour drive, and he gets there pretty late at night. So
that's fair. I could buy that.
I thought she was could have been checking to see if he was still there. So.
Oh, and that might have been why she was even more surprised that he showed up.
Right.
She's like, oh my God, you actually came. Now it makes me want to watch it again and kind of see that play out.
Anyway, one of the things I liked a lot is that I don't usually like is I thought the early jump scares worked really well, especially the very first one where we see Lupita's on the ground with the camera, and you see the creature jump out of the tree behind her.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I like that. And then when they nailed the reporter when he climbed over the fence, it was. I mean, I knew it was coming, but it was still hit me at a time that I didn't expect it at that exact instant.
Yeah, it was well paced. Did it have too much dialogue? Was there too much? Was there a balance to the action versus yakety yak?
Well, you got to pay attention to the talking, or you're not going to know exactly what the hell's going on. Because I got confused there in the middle when Burl brings something into the cabin.
Yeah, there was. I was a little like, what's going on here? Is he? It implied something else, but I think that was on purpose. I think that was on purpose to give us a little bit of a red herring. I don't know. I enjoyed that the exposition wasn't too heavy. Right, it is given a lot of times in conversation, but it was woven in well enough, and it relied on one heavy flashback, basically, right?
Yeah,
with the mother.
With the mom. Yeah. So it worked out fairly well in that respect.
I feel like the main flashback gave me a completely different opinion of Burl. And I really like that they gave his character depth with that, because it's almost like he wasn't as bad as he kind of seemed to be. I don't know. I found that interesting for some reason. I was like, oh.
Yeah, he was definitely presented as somebody very unpleasant at first. Except for Poppy, because Poppy really liked him. But
the best line of the movies is when he says, "You're not even my real kids."
That was so crappy, though. I'm like, God, really? See, really, the sister. I feel like I don't know why she had such a hatred for him. Honestly, they never really explained that part. To me, that was unwarranted. I mean, if he's kind of been raising you your whole life.
Oh, that's true. The older sister had just despised him, and the younger sister really liked him.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just need more people named Poppy. I'm just saying.
I like the name Poppy. Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this one up and let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene for Animal Among Us. Jeff, start us off.
Start us off. Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to give this a 2.75. And I'm unlike Crystal. I really like the way it ended. I just really disliked that guy through the whole movie. Most of everything he did seemed self-centered. I mean, we started off with a real good scene of him with his daughter and his wife, but then we go to school and he's really kind of pretentious. And then, so anyway, I liked the way it ended. I was like, yeah. Anyway, and yeah, I agree with everything you said, but I still loved it. For favorite scene, I probably would have said something Doc brought up, and I'm going to leave that for him, and I'll just take the
oh, okay.
The opening scene with Lupita, where she's obviously been through hell, and she's looking in the camera, and she's worried about something, and you see something drop out of the trees behind her in the dark. I thought that was
nice. Yes,
a really nice way to get kicked off.
It was. All right, Crystal, what about you? What's your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene, Animal Among Us?
If you're really looking for like a super duper Bigfoot movie, yeah, you might be a little disappointed. You might be okay with it regardless. I mean, it is what it is. It's not horrible. It's not awful. It's kind of the idea. I'm also going to give it a 2.75 because I think there was a lot of fun and good with it. Especially, I mean, let's be real. When she's looking at the Bigfoot footage and she says, "Enough with the shaky screen," I almost died.
Yeah.
I almost died because that's what everyone says when they look at Bigfoot footage, right? I thought that was hilarious. Such a cute nod.
That's true.
My favorite scene is going to be the bear paw scratching to the face.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. See, I think that was a justified action to the stuff that he had done. He kind of got what he deserved already.
Quite possibly. All right. I'm just going to say I would, given your warning, Crystal, I would like more Bigfoot in my Bigfoot movie.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. And I'm, trying to look at the story for the story. And there are other elements that undermine some of it. But on the flip side, on the positive side, which I think actually outweighs the negative side, is that the acting is really good. It's shot well, like you said, and it actually has I don't know if it's overly complicated, but it is complex. It is a complex story. It has a lot of different elements to it. And it doesn't hit us over the head with it, doesn't bore us with a lot of exposition. It enables everything really well. So in the end, I liked it more than I disliked it. So hey, that 275 thing is right about where it should be. So look at that.
Hey.
All three of us.
Uh-oh.
I think we all feel the same about it. It's like, oh yeah, yeah. It may be missing something, a big something, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But,
it wouldn't. If there was three of them, it would be a yard.
Oh, that's so silly.
Yeah.
I like it.
So that's it. So did I say my favorite scene? I didn't. Did I?
No.
Oh, my
Not
favorite
yet.
scene. There's a few to choose from, but I think this is what Jeff was talking about. All right, I'm a found footage fan, and I thought the reveal of Sir Squatch,
Oh yeah, I love it.
was really well done because
Mm-hmm.
we were looking at him the entire time, and then when he moves, I just dug it, and thought it was really well done, and could have used more.
Me too. I love. And let me tell you, when I saw those dreads, I was like, I love him, and I'm
that shot of that found footage was really that was excellent. That really set up the anticipation and apprehension for that.
Yeah, because every other time we see him, he goes by so fast. He's
Right.
just
Right.
he's not a lumbering Bigfoot. He's and so that was fun.
Do that again.
I'm not going to. No. All right. Animal Among Us is also available from Uncorked Entertainment. It's available on VOD and DVD November 19th. So it is out now as we are recording. So if you are interested in checking this out, I would recommend doing so.
Yes.
Sure.
This is the most we've agreed on. Well, I think we all agreed pretty much on the Castle Rock episodes.
Yeah, but the past couple movies have been a little contentious. Yeah.
Oh, but that's so fun.
Yes.
Like I don't know. I love it
Yeah.
that way because then I'm like, well, I could see that. But no, I'm just kidding.
Well, the films we covered tonight were The Dwelling. That's the killer bed movie from director Jeff Maher, and it's out November 26th. The other film we covered is Animal Among Us. That's the air quotes Bigfoot movie from John Woodruff, and that is available November 19th. Yep. So they're out there. They're out there.
For your viewing pleasure. Good times.
All right. Well, Jeff, Crystal, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And Dave has a lot of catching up to do because we have to find out what he thinks of these
I know.
two
I'm
films.
dying to know. Oh God, I'm really interested. I'm like, did he? Was he able to look past that?
I don't know because he's such a Bigfoot fan.
I know.
And this is the second one that's kind of done this to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Past 6 months.
Betrayal. Betrayal.
All right. Well, with that suspenseful note, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.